Good, happy Tuesday evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Tuesday evening edition of New Hampshire Life with Riley King. Let's begin. Mom helped change state law. Designation on driver's license can take tension out of routine traffic stops. In the spring of 2018, Kelly Richardson's 18-year-old autistic son Hunter was pulled over by police in Salem while driving home from work. This is like any autism parent's worst nightmare, Kelly Richardson said. Hunter Richardson had rolled through a red light to turn right as he left the parking lot of the Walmart on North Broadway where he worked. When the officer approached him and began asking him questions, he became overwhelmed, and the officer thought his behavior was odd. Kelly Richardson said her son wasn't sure how to react, she said. Adding to a situation fraught with anxiety and communication barriers, the officer was a plainclothes detective in an unmarked vehicle, Kelly Richardson said. She said her son had saved his own money to buy a car in the spring of 2017. He then got a job at the Salem Walmart that fall and was due to graduate from high school the following spring, which Kelly Richardson said was a huge accomplishment for him. This was the first time Hunter Richardson had ever been pulled over by a police officer. He had just passed his driver's test, his mother said. Because of his autism, she said his ideological behavior was deemed suspicious by police. People with autism spectrum disorder may not make eye contact and can struggle to communicate clearly, especially in stressful situations. Had things gone slightly different, an officer might have viewed Hunter Richardson as uncooperative or under the influence of drugs and arrested him. But this officer called Kelly Richardson and her husband, and they were able to explain the reason for their son's behavior and came over to pick him up. When Kelly Richardson got there, she saw that her son was visibly shaken. If Hunter had been able to provide the police officer with a license that displayed his medically recognized disorder, autism, the entire situation could have been avoided, Kelly Richardson wrote in her testimony before the House Transportation Committee earlier this year. HB 368, which would enable autism spectrum disorder to be indicated on a person's driver's license, was passed by the legislation and ultimately signed along with 15 other bills by Governor Chris Sununu in July. Starting next year, the DMV will offer a voluntary option to include the medically recognized disorder on licenses if the driver provides a letter from a physician. If Kelly Richardson, a special ed teacher at Pinkerton Academy in Derry, hadn't felt the dread of her son being arrested during a routine traffic stop, New Hampshire may have not become the third state to adopt such a law. Soon after the incident, Richardson began to do research online, asking people in autism forums what could be done to ease interaction with police. She soon discovered that legislation had recently been passed in Texas and Virginia. I thought it was strange that more states hadn't done this, she said. Kelly Richardson said she is friends with her state representative, John O'Connor, Republican of Derry, and asked him to consider bringing the bill forward. She showed him what the other states had passed. O'Connor became the primary sponsor of the bill, which quickly moved through the process with broad bipartisan support earlier this year. And Kelly Richardson was given flexibility with her work schedule to testify before lawmakers to help get the bill passed. Now she wants more people to know about the change in state law in hopes that people with autism can drive without fear of interacting with police. The special education program at Pinkerton Academy includes teaching kids with autism what to expect during a traffic stop and how to communicate their diagnosis to an officer. While these lessons have provided valuable insight into each other's perspective in these scenarios, we recognize that not everyone in the greater New Hampshire community have access opportunities like this, and even then it may be difficult to express oneself appropriately when anxious. Rob Flynn, Pinkerton autism specialist, said in his testimony to lawmakers this year. By including this indicator on driver's licenses, it's a tool for both the licensee and anyone who may be interacting with a person, for example, at a traffic stop, and can diffuse potential overwhelming situations, O'Connor said in a news release after Sununu signed the bill into law. Kelly Richardson said her son is still working at Walmart and is expecting a baby with his girlfriend in the next couple of months. Congratulations to Hunter and his girlfriend on their baby coming soon. And now let's take a listen to this video from NBC Boston, Catherine Underwood.
I went to NationalHyundai.com and saw the car I wanted. Went to National Hyundai and met the manager. Loved the car and bought it. And it was easy. No haggling, price was right, financing was easy, and I drove away in my new Hyundai in under an hour.
Make your car purchase easy at Nashua Hyundai.
This law in New Hampshire will allow people diagnosed with autism to indicate that on their driver's license if they choose to. It all comes after a scary experience for one Derry teenager with autism who was pulled over by police last year. Catherine Underwood explains from Derry.
Oh no, they're misunderstanding him.
Kelly Richardson has watched her son Hunter grow into a strong, independent young man.
He does well at his job, and he graduated from high school. I'm just very proud of all that he accomplished.
Hunter is autistic and is uneasy in unfamiliar situations. So you can imagine the panic when Hunter saw blue flashing lights in his rearview mirror.
It was a terrifying experience for him.
Hunter was being pulled over for the very first time for rolling through a red light in Salem. When the officer approached him, Hunter was unsure of how to react.
He might have been looking around, he might have been nervous, he might have been just overwhelmed and had that look on his face.
Without any way to know that Hunter was autistic, the officer considered his behavior suspicious. But before arresting him, the officer called Hunter's parents, who immediately explained the situation and went to pick him up.
My son was visibly shaken, totally upset about the whole situation.
In an effort to keep this from happening again to Hunter or to another family,
What can I do as a parent?
Richardson connected with her state rep, who then sponsored a bill that would enable autism spectrum disorder to be indicated on a person's driver's license. It was passed with bipartisan support, and the governor signed it into law this summer.
Yeah, we celebrated. What did Hunter say? He doesn't really say much, but he was happy just to see a smile on his face. Yeah.
New Hampshire is only the third state in the entire country that's adopted this kind of legislation. Hunter and his mom are hoping other New England states will be next. Reporting in Derry, New Hampshire, Catherine Underwood, NBC 10 Boston.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And I can relate to that feeling and things what Hunter went through, because I have a learning disability, and I have two, and they are the first one that I have is speech and language impairments, and that is as a communication disorder and or voice impairment that adversely affects a child's educational performance. That's what I have, a speech and language impairment, and I also have specific learning disabilities, means a disorder in one or more of the basic physiological processes involved in understanding or using language, spoken or written, that may manifest in itself in an impact ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or do mathematical calculations. So I can relate to what Hunter went through. When I get nervous and things, I get shy, and I feel overwhelmed in things in unfamiliar situations. I become shy and overwhelmed in unfamiliar situations like Hunter went through. So I just wanted to share that personal message about me, and that does it for this evening edition of New Hampshire Life with Riley King, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow with another edition of New Hampshire Life with Riley King. Good night and bye.